Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Hey, we're gonna have a silly time today because we're gonna be talking about a party game. We're gonna be talking about flushing toilets and clogging toilets because we're talking about Poop the Game. This is a card game that comes in this brown bag here, and each of the decks of cards in here can play up to 5 players. So both decks in this can play up to 10 players. I'm going to show you how to set up and how to play this game, rule for rule. We call this a rule school. I'm also going to show you many of the different variants that you can play with this. So without further ado, let's get started. Poop the Game is a card game for 2 to 5 players where you'll be playing one card at a time and trying to be the first one to run out of all your cards. But watch out, if you're the one that makes the number equal or be greater than the toilet, you'll end up clogging it up and having to take all these cards back in your hand. Now there's plenty of special cards that will be played, like reverses, or skips, or even wild cards that don't contribute to the clogging, but you'll have to do something every time you play a card for the rest of the turn, or else someone catches you, you'll have to draw a card. And there's many different variant and rules that come with the game to keep the game fresh and new every time you play it. Here's the 2 decks of cards you'll see that come in the game. The red one is the normal deck, the green one is the Party Pooper edition. If you're playing with 5 or less players, you'll use this entire deck. If you're playing between 6 and 10 players, you can add the second deck, add them both together, and follow all these instructions of setting up with both decks if you're playing with 6 to 10 players. First, you'll find the toilet cards, just the ones that have these toilets on them, and on the back of the deck, it's sort of this cream color cards here. You'll shuffle these and put them in the middle of the table where everybody can reach them. Next, you'll take this red poop deck, you'll shuffle it really well, and then you'll pass out 5 cards to each player. This will then become the draw pile, which you'll place in the middle of the table. Then at the beginning, you'll take the top poop card and you'll flip it over. This is the clog number 12. This means once the numbers that are played get to 12, then you've clogged the toilet. We'll talk about what to do here later. Now, starting with the player to the left of whoever dealt the cards out, that will be the first player. On your turn, you're going to be playing 1 card, and you're going to be playing it right to the middle here in this discard pile and laying them down so you can see the values. So let's say the first player plays this card here. This is a 4. You're going to be adding up these numbers. It would then be the next player's turn. Let's say that player adds a 2. You'd add these numbers up. That's a 6. It's less than 12, so it would be the next player's turn. Let's say the next player throws down a 3. That is a 9. It's still less than this. And let's say the next player plays a 4. Now, we have gotten at least a 12 or over 12, so the toilet has gotten clogged. The player that played this last one that went to this number or over has to pick up all these cards in their hand, and then they get to start the next round, but they also flip over the next poop card, which in this case is also a number 12, and they would start the next number, and you would continue going like this. Well, let's say the round continues and the next player plays this. Now notice you can play any color on any color, it does not matter, but let's say the next player plays this, and let's say the next player plays this. Now normally, when this card's added, if you add all these numbers up, it's at least the 12, so it would have clogged the toilet. But anytime there's the same color placed 3 times in a row, that's called flushing. All these cards would get discarded. Everybody except the player that just caused that flush would draw a card, and then the player that did cause that flush would start a new round, and they would not change the toilet that is there. Now let's look at some of the special cards. There are R's, which are basically reverses. That just changes the direction of play. So the next player going in the opposite direction would be the next one to play. There's also S's for skip, which would be skipping the next player in whatever direction you're currently playing. Now there are some special cards. They have zeros on them. They're known as wild cards, and they have a special action on them. Every subsequent turn, you have to do everything on all of the wild cards that you may have placed. In this case, grunt on my turn. So it's my turn. I would need to grunt when I lay down a card. If I didn't and someone calls me out on it, I have to draw a card. And also, if anybody else plays the same wild card as me, that later on, they have to do it instead of me. They have taken those responsibilities. And this simply continues like this until one player has placed their last card and they have run out and they immediately win the game. Now there's many different ways you can play this game, or variants if you will. I'm going to go over these now. The first one is called the Poop Remix number 1. It's the Blind Pooper and Poop Patrol. In this game, you do not flip over the toilet cards. In fact, one player is designated to being the only person that is basically refereeing this. So they will look at this card and only that player will look at this card. That player might look at this and say, ooh, it's an 8, but he does not show this to anybody. He knows what it is. Then when somebody does put out that, in this case, 8 or more, they'd be the one to tell them that, well, you clogged the toilet. This player can also call out people when they miss their wilds so that they have to draw a card. The next variant is called FLUSHER'S Delight. And if you remember, you have 3 cards of the same color. This gets flushed, this gets discarded. Everybody else except that player would draw a card like normal. However, after that, everyone takes their hand and passes it to the player in the direction that play is going, depending on if there were any reverses played. If you played your last card to do this flush, then the player that you would normally be passing the 0 cards to actually wins the game. The next variant is called the Interceptor. Let's say somebody plays a card, somebody can yell interception, and they can play the same color. It has to be both the same color and number. Now that player's card gets discarded and they get to play another card. So essentially it allows them to get rid of cards faster. Now you cannot clog the toilet when you're using an interception card because it gets discarded and does not add to the clog value. However, if a player plays a number and this would have clogged the toilet like normal, they can decide not to say it right away because somebody else might jump in as an interception and add this card to this pile, not knowing that when they did so, this player actually was going to clog the toilet. In that case, the player that intercepted actually ends up clogging the toilet and has to take all of these and then flip the next card just like normal. Another way to play the game is called the Super Pooper variant. All of the poop cards get dealt out. People do not look at your pile, so you're going to have a pile of cards. And when it comes to your turn, you're simply going to flip over your card. If it causes a clog, you're going to take all the cards like normal and start a new toilet just like normal. You are trying to get all of the cards in this version of the game. Also, when flushing, let's say that there was a 3rd card of the same color, the first person to slap this when they see a flush gets to take all the cards. And remember, you're trying to get all the cards in this version. If you run out of cards, you can slap one of those flushes to get back in and get some cards, and the one who gets all the cards, all the poop cards in the entire game is the winner of this version. Another variant is called the Deep Doo-Doo Remix, and this is for advanced players and for 2-player games. And in this case, you can only do a flush, which again is 3 cards in the row of the same color, if it matches the color that's overflowing in the toilet. So if there were 3 cards of red or yellow, it would not get flushed, but because it matches here, this could get flushed as normal rules. Another variant are drinking rules. And so in this case, when a card is played that would normally clog the toilet because it is at least 11, the player who clogged the toilet would pick one other player, and both of those players have to split the number of drinks that's listed on the toilet. If the toilet is flushed, meaning you have 3 cards of the same color, everybody takes 2 drinks. And if you've played a wild card and it comes back to your turn and you forget to do what it said on the wild card you play, then you also take 2 drinks. And just to show you these decks again, the normal deck has toilets that go as low as 8 and all the way up to 12 and has the colors red, yellow, and blue in them. The Party Pooper edition, the lowest toilet is 10, the highest is 14, so the toilet values are higher, and there's 3 new colors of green, orange, and purple. Well, I hope you enjoyed that rule school and it allowed you to just jump right in without having to read any rules. If you have any further questions about the gameplay, just leave them as comments in this video and we'll do the best to answer them.